we can always record it another time.
Okay, why don't you I'm going to ask Rhea to introduce herself. I'm going to cut this part out.
Okay.
Who are you?
I am Rhea Sanders. You're Wyatt. What am I supposed to be saying? Okay, I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I don't know how to do this.
And Rhea and I are here with our cousin, Jacqueline Moore. Jackie, tell us a little bit about yourself and why are you here in Columbus?
Okay, so I'm Jacqueline Moore. My second married name, but I was born to Martha and Marcus Smith. And my mom was from Monroe, Louisiana, and my dad, Marcus, was from West Monroe. But I grew up in Monroe, and as a kid, 3 years old, we lost my dad to the Vietnam War. So my mom took the family, we moved to Shreveport, and I grew up and got married, and I moved to Baltimore, Maryland, because my husband was Air Force, and that's where we got our roots started. So fast forward, I had gotten divorced, and when life happens, we try to figure out, so what are we going to do, which direction we're going to go in. So this particular day, I was sitting home, and right outside of where I lived, I just heard a bunch of noise, vehicles revving up, but I never paid much attention that was a military installation right outside from where I lived. I turned the TV on, and I see the second plane hit the Twin Towers. So it was, and I was like, is this really happening? What's going on? And then you start to hear the story of what really happened with 9/11. So as that progressed, I was thinking in my mind, what can I do? You want to help, you want to reach out. Mm-hmm. Do you go to New York? Do you become a volunteer? What do you do? So life moves on. I was on my way to work one particular day, and it was still in my mind. I wanted to do something to help. And I see this sign on the billboard. It probably had been there the entire time, but I never paid much attention to it. And it said 1-800-GO-GUARD. What is that? Never paid much attention to it at all. So I get to work, I call this number, and I told my coworker, she said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to call the 1-800-GO-GUARD. And she said, do you know what that is? And I said, no. So guy answers the phone, and I said, what is this 1-800-GO-GUARD? I saw the soldiers and the Marines on. And he said, Miss, do you know what you're doing? We're going to go to war. And I said, go to war? He said, let me click you over and talk to another recruiter. So the guy answers the phone, and I said, I want to join the Guard. And he says, Miss, are you crazy? We're going to go to war. And in my mind, it didn't really process what go to war really meant at that time. So I said, okay, sign me up. A couple of days later, I go down to the headquarters, and the guy is interviewing me, and he said, do you know we're going to go to war? And I said, okay, that's fine. And he said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to do something that's going to impact the most people. How can I touch the most lives? And he says, I think I have the job for you. So he gives me this little math test. I do a little test, and he said, it's one thing. Can you do push-ups? I said, I don't think I ever did a push-up, but I was a runner, so I would run all the time. Running was never a problem. And I dressed like I was going on a job interview. So I had a dress and boots on, and I get on the floor, and I knock a couple push-ups out. He said, well, you got that down. So sit-ups will come. Don't worry. So I guess he's letting me know she'll be able to pass a physical fitness test. So long story short, I signed up, and I joined the Army National Guard out of Maryland, and I became a medic. I've deployed. I've gone several different places doing all kind of humanitarian missions, and I've had a great time while doing it. And I must say, I think the one thing that I said to the recruiter, Sergeant Blackwell at the time, and I still remember his name, and I said, I want to be something in the Army where it's going to impact the most people. And being a medic, I see every single soldier within the state. Now I'm in Delaware after leaving Maryland. At some point in time, I'm going to see you because you're going to come through the medical rotation for physicals. So I think this was definitely meant to be. But out of all of my siblings, after losing my father in Vietnam, no one ever had a gumption or just any sense of being a part of the military because of what, I guess, the trauma my mother probably endured. I just can't imagine someone coming to the door and saying you've lost your loved one, that they've given the ultimate sacrifice as their life, and you've got to move on. But I just remember calling my mother and I said, well, I'm going to the military, and I thought there was nothing but silence on the other end of the phone, that out of all these years that one of my kids are actually going to go to the military. And I must tell you, I joined at the age of 35 years old. And people's like, you've got to be nuts. But I knew I was prepared. I was ready. I had my children. I've been married. I've traveled. I've done this. But I felt like I needed to give something back. And that I have done. So it's been a good ride. And I've made first sergeant. I'm 17 years in. And I'm going to see just how long this adventure is actually going to be. So it's been great. Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Cousin Sanders.
Cousin Sanders.
Thank you, Jackie. And we're here in the beautiful city of Columbus, Ohio. Jackie is visiting this area. Rhea and I actually live in Cincinnati. It was about 90 miles to the south of Columbus. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody at the family reunion.
Absolutely.
July of 2020. Stay tuned.